Welcome back to Self Redemption 369, where we explore the tools, wisdom, and inspiration to live an aligned and fulfilling life. I'm your host, Shalimar Lee L. Today's topic is one that's deeply personal and universal. The topic of letting go of what no longer serves you. We've all experienced it, holding on to things, people, or situations long after they served their purpose in our lives. Maybe it's a toxic friendship, a job that's draining your energy, or even old beliefs about yourself. But here's the truth: letting go isn't giving up, it's making room. It's the intentional act of releasing what no longer serves your highest good so you can evolve, thrive, and grow. In this episode, we'll explore how to recognize when it's time to let go, how to make a conscious decision to release, and practical steps to let go with love and discernment. So grab your journal and settle in. This is going to be a powerful conversation. Recognizing when it's time to let go. Letting go begins with awareness. It's about tuning into the signs that something or someone is no longer serving your growth or your peace. While watching Oprah, I heard her say, "The thing about me is I always know when it's time to let go and move on. I can sense it in my spirit." That stuck with me, and my spirit brings it back to my remembrance from time to time. When Oprah said she always knows when to let go and move on, I couldn't fully relate at the time. But after all I've been through over the last 4 years in particular, now I can fully relate. What Oprah was referring to is called the spirit of discernment, something I have become very familiar with. Discernment is in knowing the difference between what needs patience and what needs release. To master discernment, consider these questions. Number one, am I holding on out of fear of change? Number two, what will my life look like if I release this? And number three, does this align with the person I'm becoming? Sometimes we cling to things because they're familiar, not because they're good for us. It takes courage to admit that and choose growth over comfort. My spirit speaks to me daily, making me aware of things I need to do and things I shouldn't do. Many call this the still small voice. It is prevalent in all of our lives. It's just that some are more in tune with it than others because they deliberately take time to get tapped in and turned on to the spirit. When I was getting acquainted with my spirit, I used to question it. I would hear it speaking, but I wouldn't validate it by saying, "Oh, that's just me making that up in my head." Then one day I was listening to this spirit guide. He was speaking about your spirit is speaking to you. He said, "Ask your spirit a question. Now listen." What did it say? Then he said, "Don't try to invalidate your spirit by questioning if it was speaking or if you were making up the answer in your head." I laughed. He said, "You asked, spirit answered, and that's it." That was a hard pill for me to swallow. But when I swallowed it and began sitting with my spirit regularly, the voice went from still small voice to still large and loud voice. I used to have to meditate to commune with my spirit. But now that we have become one, we conversate on a regular basis like friends conversating on the phone. Holding the spirit of discernment is empowering and will change your life. But it is not an overnight evolution. It is a process that is ramped up during your healing journey. It can happen for you too, but you must first commit to healing and then do the work. With that said, let's talk about a few signs to watch for that signal when it's time to let someone or something go. Here are a few signs to watch for. The first, emotional drain. If thinking about or engaging with this person, situation, or thing leaves you feeling constantly drained, stressed, or anxious, that's a red flag. Here's an example. When I was driving Uber, I started noticing the riders that I was picking up shifted. See, when I first started driving for Uber, I met a lot of wonderful people and families. We shared stories, insights, tips, and more. It was rewarding and fulfilling spiritually, mentally, and financially. I was constantly getting 5-star reviews, nice tips, and great take home pay. But from last year through this year, when I retired from Uber, I was picking up a lot of drunk people who were rude and obnoxious, rude college kids, wannabe gangsters, and more. Uber had lowered the pay rate tremendously. They went from deducting 20 to 30% of the fare for themselves to keeping 50%, and sometimes even more. I remember one day picking up 3 college students from the airport to take them to WashU. Uber was paying me $15 to complete the ride. During the ride, the students were talking amongst themselves about how they were going to split the ride fare. The young lady said, the ride was $75, so we split that 3 ways. That would be $25 apiece. You could have bought me for a penny. I didn't say anything to the riders, but that conversation deflated me. I felt so used, abused, and unappreciated. After all, I was using my car, my gas, paying for the maintenance on the car, picking up the customers, providing top-notch customer service, and dropping off the customers at their desired destination. I couldn't understand how Uber thought it was justified in keeping 80% of the fare they charged for the rider and paying me a measly 20%, when all they were doing was providing the app to connect us. Needless to say, after their ride, I turned off my app and started planning my exit strategy. The second sign is lack of alignment. You changed, and it no longer aligns with your values, goals, and dreams. Example, when I started driving Uber, we were in alignment. It gave me the time freedom I needed. I could work when I wanted to work and easily reach my financial goals. And Uber valued their drivers, and I valued the opportunity. The riders were respectful and grateful, and I was respectful and grateful to meet them. However, the last 2 years driving Uber became more of a chore that I resented. But I did it because it helped pay the bills. I was always on edge. I was receiving constant threats from Uber, saying they were going to deactivate my account because something a customer reported. The thing that got me was they could never substantiate these reports. After the second threat, I got a camera for my car for my safety and protection. And I'm glad I did because I had to send in footage to counter numerous false accusations. It was tiring and draining. And due to Uber's cut in pay, I had to work longer hours. I went from driving about 30 hours a week to driving 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, just to make the same pay. And it didn't help that tipping customers were few and far and in between. I stopped driving Uber for a moment and picked up some other side gigs like Shipt, Walmart, delivery, DoorDash, etc. But this didn't last long because I was using more gas, more energy, and receiving less pay. So eventually, I went back to Uber, which takes us to the third, number 3, repeating cycles. If you're caught in a loop of the same patterns with no resolutions, it might be time to break free. But let's be real. It's not always easy to admit that something isn't serving us anymore. We cling out of habit, fear, or even guilt. The first step is to ask yourself this question: does this add to my growth or hinder it? When I went back to Uber, I did it because I felt like it was the only option that fit my lifestyle with the demands of running a homeschool academy and raising my daughter. It was daunting, but I made myself do it. It was rough, and I eventually ended up driving 2 shifts a day to try to make ends meet. In the summertime, I would drive Uber from 4 a.m. to 2 p.m., then drive delivery gigs from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. When school was in session, I would drive Uber from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m., have school from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., and then go back to drive Uber from 4:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. I was literally driving myself into an early grave. I felt the pressure. I started researching other ways to make money. When the gang stalking started in September of last year, I really started feeling the pressure. I had numerous disrespectful riders, and I kept getting the same riders over and over. Amidst having to close my school and not being able to have my daughter with me, my spirit made a demand. One day, I had just dropped off my last rider for the day. My spirit said, withdraw your earnings and delete the app. It's getting too dangerous. I was dumbfounded. I didn't know what was about to happen, but I was too afraid of what might happen if I didn't listen. I wish I could tell you that things got better, but they didn't. They got a lot worse. What did happen, though, was that decision started me on a fast track healing journey that has not only changed the trajectory of my life, but made the quality of my life much better and my life purpose much more clear. Take a moment to reflect on your life. Is there anything you've been holding on to that feels like a weight instead of a support? Write it down if you can. Awareness is the first step. Now, let's talk about the science of discernment and letting go. Here's the thing: letting go is a science because it requires deliberate action, but it's also an art because it demands discernment. How to let go with love and intention is like this. Letting go isn't about cutting things off in anger and resentment. It's about releasing it with love for yourself and others. And here's how to start. Number one, acknowledge the loss. Allow yourself to feel the emotions that come with letting go. It's okay to grieve what you're releasing, even if it no longer serves you. Number two, practice gratitude. Reflect on what this experience, person, or situation taught you. Gratitude helps you release with love instead of bitterness. Number three, set a clear intention. Decide what you're letting go of and why. Write it down or say it aloud. I release X because it no longer serves my highest good. Number four, create a ritual. Rituals help make the act of letting go tangible. This could be writing a letter or burning it, decluttering your space, or simply meditating on the intention to release. Number five, focus on growth. Shift your focus to what you're gaining by letting go, which is peace, clarity, and freedom. Visualize yourself thriving without the weight of what you release. The benefits of letting go. When you master the art of letting go, you create space for new opportunities, healthier relationships, and personal growth. Here are some transformative benefits. Number one, inner peace. You stop carrying emotional burdens that aren't yours to bear. Two, increase energy. Releasing what drains you allows your energy to flow toward what nourishes you. Three, personal empowerment. Letting go is an act of self love. It's reclaiming your power to choose what stays in your life. Four, clarity. With the old out of the way, you can see your path forward more clearly. And five, freedom to grow. You're no longer tethered to the past, allowing you to step into your highest potential. Remember, letting go doesn't mean you failed or gave up. It means you chose yourself, your growth, and your happiness. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this affirmation. Say it with me. I am worthy of releasing what no longer serves me. I welcome growth, peace, and new possibilities into my life. Letting go is a process. It's not about rushing to the finish line, but about taking small, intentional steps toward freedom. In today's episode, we unpacked a lot. If it resonates with you, I encourage you to take action. Write down one thing, person, or belief you're ready to release. Then decide how you'll honor that release, whether through journaling, a ritual, or simply saying goodbye in your life. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to share this episode with someone who might need this message. And if anything in this message resonates with you, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Next time, remember, you are worthy of everything you're growing into. Keep evolving with grace. Peace, love, and light.